Don't fear to be jobless.
Hear from any of you. One thing about artificial intelligence is we understand there is a lot of data sets, and if we have a good data set, we have good results. But what sits in between? How can we make sure that AI is not, wrongfully deciding or whatever? So this is what we call the black box effect. So can we get rid of that somehow?
If I start. Talks about explainable AI. Okay, that looks at explainable designing AI that people can understand, can predict. I like to have my own view on it. I call it explaining AI as well. Explaining to people how AI works doesn't necessarily need to mean that it's explainable AI. You can design the AI to be understandable, the actual mechanics to be understandable. You just want to know what it does for you, how it does it, and what are the risks. So that's a big area of research, and it involves the use of a number of techniques. For example, when you talk about black box systems, so how do we verify black box systems? We use counterfactuals, so we use a technique where we look at throwing lots of different examples at the black box that we know are wrong, and checking that it does get them wrong. So it does detect that they are bad examples. But the problem is that it doesn't scale. This approach doesn't scale because the number of bad inputs that you can have is infinite in most cases. So there's a lot of research going in that space. There's another side, there's another community looking at verification of AI, and that's using techniques like formal methods. So we model the reasoning of the logics of the algorithm, the system within which it is embedded, to make sure that we can verify that in all circumstances the outcomes will be will fit a certain standard, will meet certain expectations. And there are other techniques which look at more realistic measures, I would say, which is looking at failure rates, so the probability of the AI getting it wrong in a larger system. But my take on it is that you can try to do all these things, but systems of the future will not just have AI embedded in them. There will be always a human either in the loop or on the loop. And that's what we can't model. We can't model the human mind. We can't model the humans who change their beliefs every second, their understanding, their thoughts at every second. And that's where the real challenge is right now in the community.
Thank you. Actually, you give a research perspective. I would like to give you the citizen perspectives of AI and the black box of AI. Actually, we talked about black boxes because an AI algorithm is based on data. So you can have bias in data, and that's not my point here. So the algorithms gives you a result, and will say, for instance, here you have 99% of chance that you have a cancer, or a disease, or something else. In the business, it could give you, I am the algorithms, and based on the analysis of 1 million of resume, I can say that the 10 best ones are these ones. Okay? But as a citizen, when you get the results, you can ask, but how can we be sure it's the best results? And how are created the results? This is where it is complicated, because it's hard to explain AI and algorithms and so on. But if we want people to trust AI, and my point is about trusted AI, if we want us, as people, as citizens, to trust the results of AI, we need to understand it. And that's the point. Because the social acceptation of AI is possible only if you have trusted AI. I need, as a citizen, I need to know how we can have these results of AI. If I doesn't have this knowledge of the results, I will not trust AI, and then I will not accept it. And then it will make social disorder, and it will be hard for AI to be accepted.
But maybe, sorry to jump on that. So you're based from and sorry to say, from a Western point of view. Okay, if you go to Eastern countries and China, for example, particularly because we know China is one of the strongest in AI today, they may not have those reservations. You know, Sesame credit, for example, and the social credit that happens in China is, well, I got a bad grade because my friends got a bad grade, and suddenly I cannot, you know, book a plane ticket. But well, that's fine, because I need to behave better. How do we solve that?
The Chinese, the Indians, the French, the Americans, we all have this same issue. Who understands AI and who is responsible for it? And no one has a clue. Because apart from this gentleman on my left, honestly, who can dig into deep learning? Who can dig into adversarial learning? Who can dig into quantum computing? Very, very few people. So that's here we have a strong ethical issue here, is that no one really understands it. First point. And it's the same for the Chinese, the same for the French, the same for everyone. Second point, who is responsible for it? I understand your fears about social credit and stuff like that, but changes. You have this algorithm, you know, the stocks go up and down, and all of a sudden you have two algorithms colliding, and during a fragment of a second, the stock market. To me, this very example is just totally global, and so far, not a lot of people have actually found the crack.
Yeah, so what you mean is that there are lots of calculation. But going to the point that you were making about business for good, do you think that big corporations today are using your data, my data, everybody's data in an ethical way?
Damien, you're the specialist of citizenship here. But let me try to answer this. What I find fascinating in big corporation is that the guy in charge of social innovation is never the same guy who is in charge of technological innovation. The guy who is the CTO, the CIO is never the guy in charge of CSR. Social innovation, or at least a social impact. Either positive or negative, but that's not the point. And to me, we definitely have a big problem here, is that in these large corporations, you have people in charge of actually the same thing, which is not even working in the same city from time to time. To me, that's the big challenge here. But it's shifting. You see more and more CIO getting in charge of social innovation, getting in charge of impact and stuff like that.
So the question was, are they using the data ethically? And that's a very difficult question to answer, because ethics change based on culture, based on demographics. And I'll point you to a very nice paper written by some colleagues of mine at MIT on what they call the moral machine experiment. It's an experiment that looks at what people would choose to do if an autonomous car was going down the road uncontrollably, so you can't stop it, and you can either kill people on the road or kill people in the car, so by crashing the car. So either drives through, kills the little kid who's crossing the road, or the elderly, or the terrorist who's crossing the road, or the terrorist in the car, or the nice person in the car, etc. So there were lots of different versions of this experiment, different passenger types, or pedestrian types. And they obviously showed what you'd expect to see. People choose different outcomes based on where they come from, based on their age, their religion, their sex, etc., etc. So there are many, when you say something is ethical, it's not clear what that means. In China, it's okay to take pictures of everyone and classify everyone as a criminal or not. It's okay, because the ethics say it's okay. So what we need to think about, and to echo what Nicola was talking about, is how do we do innovation in a responsible way? In the UK, for example, the research councils have advocated the idea of responsible innovation, and there's a framework called the Area Framework that ensures that when we're building new technology, third degree problems that might emerge before they actually happen.
Okay. No, I think it's clear. And so maybe because we are very over time, but it's Europe and DPA in Mauritius, which is a smaller version of GDPR, really protects citizens and corporations from unethical or unmoral usage of data.
Well, actually, I think that GDPR and all of the, let's call it a framework, allows actually companies to have a framework to do the right things. Because, like you mentioned, ethics can be different according to the country, but with GDPR, we have a beginning of an answer. And I think it will help the companies. Because before GDPR, the companies can do whatever they want, almost. Now there is a framework, so it means that the companies know that they can do some things and what they cannot do. And I think it helps. And actually in Europe, we've been like pioneers on that, and maybe it's going to be an example followed by, of course, Mauritius, but also the United States, California, and Japan. So no, GDPR is the answer, a good answer, especially for personal data. You know, and because the previous question is, it makes me thought of Facebook and Cambridge Analytica scandals and so on. So no, yes, GDPR is a good answer for personal data.
I'm gonna go back on this. Why it's such a good answer? Not in itself, but because this is turning into a global framework. And that's something we haven't said so far, talking about ethical issues and AI. You mentioned cultural differences. How do we overcome these cultural differences? By setting global standards. And GDPR is turning into a global standard. Because Europe is advocating very hard. For instance, it was a clear condition that there would be no free trade agreement with Japan if Japan was not putting GDPR and implementing GDPR on its territory. And why it's so important for us business people in the room is that for the very first time, we might see a regulation where I don't have to do stuff all the time when I scale my business. You know, one standard in France, and one standard in Germany, and one standard in Mauritius, and you do and redo stuff again and again and again.
Cool. Johan, thank you very much. Guys, thanks very much.
Thank you very much. I'll just ask the speakers to stay in front behind us.